Good evening, everyone. Thank you for those that are joining us tonight, and you all as well. Today is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, and we want to call to order the regular meeting of the South Euclid Lyndhurst Board of Education. It is now 6:02. Mr. Hill, may we get a roll call?
Ms. Falkenberg?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. King?
Here.
Ms. Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Shelby?
Here.
Perfect. Would you all join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is in the front.
Right there. Completely missed that.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. We can go right into our liaison reports. Do we have a legislative report, Ms. Falkenberg? I mean, Ms. King.
If Heather has it, that's right.
She probably does. Don't put it past her.
Got some hot topics going on, yeah. So starting from the top, on the governor's desk is, the governor signed House Bill 15, which, I was speaking about for the past couple of, reports. It's, the energy reform bill and, how it's pertinent to school districts is that this version makes changes regarding the electric company property taxation and electric service law. There's a couple of things, but kind of to highlight, it allows the Board of Education of a city to apply to the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission for a loan from amounts in the Solar Energy Performance Contracting Loan Fund to pay certain energy conservation measure installment contracts. Additionally, it also establishes that School Energy Performance Contracting Loan Fund, that's a mouthful, to administer those funds. Additionally, the biannual House Bill 96 has been passed by both the House and the Senate, but since the passed bills differ, it has to go to the conference committee to reconcile the differences between the two passed bills. Once it's reconciled and passed, it will go to Governor DeWine to sign. Today is the second conference committee meeting. It was held very briefly this afternoon at 3 o'clock, like less than 2 minutes. But then they went ahead and they adjourned it for a recess until this evening, about 9 p.m. or so. They're in the process of finalizing the drafting from the June 17th meeting. The governor, essentially the timeline for that is that it must be signed by July the 1st. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. Additionally, House Bill 335 is moving through the legislative process in the month of June. Essentially, it's the Property Tax Relief Now Act, proposing significant changes to Ohio's property tax system, specifically targeting inside millage and potentially impacting school funding. The bill aims to provide property tax relief, but some worry it will do so at the expense of local governments and schools by eliminating inside millage. This could lead to funding cuts for essential services like education and public safety. Currently, the bill is being considered in the House Ways and Means Committee, and it's being discussed within the context of the state's budgeting process. I'll pause there, and I'll put everyone on the spot. Does anyone from the administration have any additional context or flavors to add about 335? You also can decline.
We don't have a week.
Yeah. Well, House Bill 35 is kind of, in my opinion, is the House has doubled down on what they tried to push in the biennium. I'm hoping, based on the knowledge we have, that it won't get traction as well. Just so, and I'm sure we've discussed it a few times, that inside millage dollar amount would be about 5.1 million underneath the current tax value. So, and we're not the only one, obviously, that would be impacted by that. That would cripple multiple public school districts. I've said it once, I'll say it again. This is 100% an attack on public education. So.
And just to clarify a little bit, been keeping the board updated as these things have been transpiring. And like Mr. Hill said, we would lose around $5.1 million. And to do ourselves due diligence, we have sat down and looked at what that would do to our district and the amount of cuts and the amount of things we would have to remove. 5.1 million goes a long way, and it would significantly cut all of our after programs. It would slice our staff from admin all the way down significantly, and it is an attack on public schools. We have written letters to the Senate and to the House. We have advocated in partnership with BASA, OSBA, and the ESC. And right now, we're eagerly awaiting July 1st. From what we are being told by our advocacy groups through the Superintendent Consortium, through the ESC, is that right now that is not going to go through, but nothing's real till July 1st. So we have a non-joke but joke between us that, you know, we have an A, B, C, and D plan ready. And we're going to wait and see what comes from that. Yeah, well, yeah.
And then House Bill 114 passed the House with a vote of 93-0. It alters the age requirement for kindergarten admission. It's now moving to the Senate for consideration. It requires public schools to admit to kindergarten any child who will be 5 years old, or if the child has not completed first grade 6 years old by the first day of instruction of the school year of admittance. So that concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
Just to add, I know a lot of people have been calling the governor and the representatives, so I'm hoping that our ears are burning. For my report, unfortunately, I don't know what our students have been up to. I'm guessing the graduating seniors have been busy contacting their future roommates in college for job hunting. I know that several students have been looking for jobs, and there's been some frustration finding jobs. But I'm always excited to see or hear from the students and know what they're up to. I have a couple of reports. One is from Ashtabula, the city schools. I thought this was a great idea. They have a program which is called Empty Bowls. And I apologize if I've given this report before. I don't think I have. But they partner with some of their art programs, art teachers, and art students to make like cereal bowls or soup bowls and decorate them. And they, after they're killed, people can purchase for, I think it's $25, a bowl of soup, some bread or roll, and a dessert. And this is a fundraiser. What they are doing in Ashtabula is supporting our vets, so it's called Feed Our Vets, which I thought was a great idea. I don't think this one is in this link, but one school in Michigan has started it's called Adulting 101, and it is helping students to fill in those areas that they don't get in school, which is, figuring out how to open a checking account, how to do your taxes, how to balance your checkbook, how to figure out if you should rent or buy a house, thought that was a great idea, and it started, I think she said it started with 8 or 10 students, and it's now, they have 30 or 35 kids signed up every semester, so I thought that was a great idea. And then finally, I'm not so good at reading my publicity. Minnesota students are using, oh, no, I want to do the therapy dog. We have a story from Colorado, Stony Creek Elementary School, by a woman who started bringing in therapy dogs to this elementary school, and it has been a huge success. She's finding that kids that were, nervous about school and kindergarten, or maybe just moved into the area and were nervous about finding friends, it has been a way for them to just kind of relax and find a calm in the middle of, what could be some anxiety. And it's also brought students that wouldn't maybe necessarily know each other together in their love for these dogs. So I just thought that was super. That's the end of my report.
Thank you so much, ladies. We can go right into 2.2, Superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody. First legislative update. Ms. King hit most of that for us. I just want to reiterate regarding the legislative, we expect it by July 1st because it has to be, so we can officially start planning. We're in a holding pattern, and people that know me, I'm not very good at those. Finalization of this, so we'll provide you with more details at the July meeting, and I'll continue to keep the board updated as things transpire. Hiring update for the summer has been progressing smoothly. Mr. Miller's not here, but we're in a good position filling the roles. Pleased to report that we are on track to have a strong team in place, and it's almost complete. Summer school, modified summer school programs are in full swing. Went over there Tuesday, talked to Mr. Day, saw some of the teachers. As everybody knows, it is modified post ESSER dollars, but we have a good number of students over there, and our staff's working hard, and they are conducting their iReady test on Thursday. And finally, we had our June administrative retreat that we hold yearly in June after the school's over. And in July, you'll be hearing from me on our 14 priorities that we have set in place, none of which are new. As I told the union, teachers union over the year, and my team, we have to get good with what we have and not continue to roll out a bunch of new things, but really fine-tune what we have. So excited to build on what we've already accomplished and really start to enhance what we have. So with that, speaking of enhancements and where we're going, the next part of my report, I'm going to turn over to our Director of Exceptional Children, Ms. Jen Moles.
Good. Hello. So just to kind of summarize our year in review for the Office of Exceptional Students, just last year, who we served for the last 12 calendar months, we had 805 school-age students with IEPs and ETRs go through our office, along with 113 preschool IEPs and ETRs for those. And currently, we are sitting at 689 students with disabilities that are school-aged and 70 preschoolers that are enrolled for the upcoming fall. Okay, and we are growing. So we added 2 teachers this year. We're going to have a new multiple disabilities unit at Roland Elementary, and we're going to have a new autism unit at Sunview. It's going to be placed at Adrian, because Sunview already has 3 and they're out of room. So we had enough kids coming from our preschool that are transitioning to school age to fill 2 new classrooms. Adrian will have our autism unit, and Roland will add a 3rd classroom for students with multiple disabilities.
And Sunview will still house.
And Sunview still has 3 autism units. Yep. So, and then we get graded as we do with the report card. Special ed gets separate things. So for our special education report that comes out in October, we found out that we meet requirements. It doesn't sound very illustrious, but that's the highest rating that we can get. There's two areas where they measure us on compliance indicators and performance. So with compliance indicators, they look at discipline discrepancy. Any of the ones that say discrepancy, disproportionate, what they're looking at is students with disabilities, how they're comparing to typical peers and those subgroups of students with disabilities compared to subgroups of typical peers. So with discipline, we're not putting our students with disabilities out more often than we are their typical peers. We're not over-identifying certain populations of students with disabilities. A couple of years ago, we were found to be disproportionate in over-identification of white males with autism. We had to put a corrective action plan in place and remediate that, but this year we're doing fine. All of our evaluations for initials have to be conducted within 60 days. They were all on time. Early childhood transition from Part C to Part B. All that means is you're getting services from the county as birth to 3 years old, and by the time that you are 3, B is school-age services, and we have an IEP, and we're ready for you to start preschool. Secondary transition takes effect at age 14 and means that we are getting you ready for life after high school. It's the first part of your IEP. It guides and directs everything. We're 100% compliant in that area. Timely correction of non-compliance would be if we had any corrective action plans. Right now we don't, so we're doing great with that. And valid and reliable data means that all of our EMIS data is coming back without flags and that we don't have any issues. The performance indicator is our graduation of students with disabilities and the dropout rate. And right now we are above the threshold for what's allowable. Our graduation is right around 93%. And I believe dropout we're 94% that we are graduating. So we're doing really well. Step up to quality is our preschool rating. This used to be if we were 1 to 5 stars. They've been doing this for the past 11 years that we've participated. We've always been a 5-star program. In the last 3 years, they've changed it to gold rating, which is the highest, and we've maintained that, which is fabulous. They rate it on 4 areas: learning and development of our students, administration and leadership, which has to do with our staff and their education, staff quality and professional development to make sure that they're earning those hours to stay abreast of the most current topics, and then making sure that we're involving our families and communities within our preschool setting. And then this is year 2. So last year, you'll remember, we had the Office of Exceptional Children from DEW come to the district. They kind of invaded us in September as school just started, and we went through that really intensive process with all of our paperwork. We cleared all of the corrections for that. We did fabulous, and then this year we're in year 2. So what that means with year 2 is that we had to give out surveys to our families, our teachers, administration, and students. Our students weren't too excited about this. We only got 3 responses, but it was really nice. It went out as part of the newsletter that Kristen Cash sends out on behalf of Superintendent Kaple, and we had some good responses. So if you just click on the parents part, I just want you to get kind of a feel for what those questions look like that they asked. Now, every group had separate questions that was related to theirs. So this is the parents one, you know, your child's school, the age, and then it asked a series of questions on it. I mean, our parents really liked it. Let's be honest, when you send a survey out to parents, you get either the ones who absolutely love us or the ones who absolutely don't. So you don't kind of get those in-between ones. So you'll see on the next slide for this that I just wanted to give you kind of a snapshot. Parents had the opportunity to add additional comments. Out of those 49, 27 did. So I just kind of did a screenshot of it. You can see really they are more positive, but we couldn't go without recognizing that we have room to grow too, according to some of our parents. So those are some of the wonderful things that parents who chose to fill it out said, and then some of the areas where parents felt like maybe we were underserving their children. So, and then finally, the last part of our on-site review that we really worked hard was the internal monitoring team. So what this is every single building, elementary through high school, we picked a team of teachers. So let's see, at the high school, we have Dale Swinnerton, we have Lexi Millard, We have Jeff Berenson, we have our school psychologist, Helen Kleinman, we have administration representing. So it's regular ed, special ed related services. They all come to the table, and what we do is quarterly we go through ETRs and IEPs. And the feedback from this was fabulous because the gen ed teachers were like, now when we sit in on these meetings, we truly know what we're looking at. They can push back on, like, is that really a reasonable goal? Are we teaching that? Great conversations came out of it, but more importantly, we really tracked the data through all of this. And as you can see, this part is the ETR piece of it. And with that, like, we started out that we had areas of non-compliance, and this was found in the original last year. And so, like, the clearly states the summary of interventions. We started at 89% that we had it, but maybe it wasn't great. By the time we finished in May, we were down to only 8% of non-compliance where they just needed to tweak it. So you can see there was a significant improvement in how we were writing the ETRs. So we're gonna continue this process. We're gonna tweak it a little bit to make it a little less grueling because they're very long days when we do this. So we're gonna take it back to the buildings next year. And then this was the IEP piece. And since we were looking at the data, we know that we need to move forward and still provide some professional development. So you'll see that we started out transition planning. We didn't have anything what they considered compliant last year. We dropped that. We're now at 26% that isn't compliant. So it's a significant increase. We're doing really well there. IEP, writing our measurable goals. Everybody kind of thinks more is better, but sometimes when we add that more, we forget pieces of it. So we started out that we needed to work on those with 85%. With lots and lots of training, we still only dropped to 83. So we know that that's an area that we're really going to focus on for professional development. Questions?
So when you say you're working on these things for professional development,
Mm-hmm.
are we looking at internal things? Are we looking at outsourcing and having someone else come in
No.
to assist us?
We'll do it internally. So the SST has supported us through this whole process, and they came to the internal monitoring. What we're finding is the group that is part of that internal monitoring process, they're really good at it. They identify the areas. There's so many people that aren't a part of it. So when we went through the training last year, we trained everybody as a large group. I think we're gonna hit more targeted individuals and do it by building this year. So with our CID days, we're gonna take an opportunity, if we have it, talk about the global pieces, and then go in and really hit them as an individual building. Thanks.
And like I said before, I heard directly, intervention specialist, that we actually have a great model. That's what I've heard. I've heard the past few months of that. That's all I've heard, is that our district has a very good model for our special education department. So kudos to you, and I would say thank you, and you all continue to move forward.
Thanks. And Amanda and Sandy are a huge part of that too, so, yeah. Anything else?
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna stand here though, cause
Thank you. And I really appreciate what you guys mentioned there about Jen's not afraid to put up some of the feedback that we need to improve, and sitting her end of year eval and listening to the plans for next year is all I can ask for, and how they're gonna target and what they're gonna be doing. And you brought up a question about, I feel like I should share this publicly now. You brought up the question, Ms. Lee, about where that professional development is gonna be coming from. One hit that we did take, along with, I think, pretty much every district in the state, was our Title I dollars. We were fortunate. Our Title I did not get hit. I give kudos to Ron Johnson and team because we've been compliant and we've been spending our dollars appropriately. We haven't had any red flags, but our Title II, which is all professional development designated, that was cut in half. So just FYI, we're combing through that now. Mrs. Bastock and team have met already, looking at different options and different things we can look at. So just wanted to share that because that did come out Friday, I think, off the top of my head. So
Josh, do we have any public comment?
None.
Hearing none, we can proceed. Item 3.1, the minutes. The minutes of the regular meeting of May 20th, 2025 will be approved as recorded or corrected. Furthermore, the reading of these minutes will be waived. May we get a motion to approve?
Second.
Kathryn and Ashley. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Lee?
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby?
Aye. Treasurer's report, item 4.
Good evening. Recommend for approval, item 4.1, the financial reports for month end, May 2025. Item 4.2, the bank reconciliation for month end for May 2025. Item 4.3, the investment earnings for month end, May 2025. Item 4.4, the transfer of activity funds. Item 4.5, the advance of funds for fiscal year end 2025. Item 4.6, the transfer of funds for fiscal year end 2025. Item 4.7, the final appropriations for all funds for fiscal year 2025. And I will mention that I did give you the additional, I mentioned prior to the meeting, I was able to get the actuals in for salary and benefits, so I did update that, and it is in board docs corrected. We had just already printed it. Item 4.8, the temporary appropriations for all funds fiscal year 2026. Item 4.9, we have one donation for approval. Item 4.10, or 4.10, approval of then and now purchase orders. And item 4.11, approval of treasurer's items reported as such.
May we get a motion to approve items 4.1 through 4.10?
So moved.
Shelby and Ms. Falkenberg. Any questions or comments?
I have a question. In the past, the Red Cross had given those scholarships to students specifically.
They gave them to them directly.
They did,
So they're
okay.
still, in the past, they did not run through the district at all. They have now changed their process. They are sending the money to us along with the list.
Okay.
So this donation actually comprises a list of the recipients, and
Okay.
we will then give them out.
Okay.
It flows through us now.
So have you issued them already, or you have to issue them out to the students now? So are they there's students obviously that have graduated.
They are. I'm not sure where we are in the process, but I do know we had to reach out to each of one of the students to get them as a vendor in order to issue them. So,
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I'm like, they gotta do the W-9s and then
Yes.
make sure their addresses haven't changed.
which is exactly why the companies are probably not doing it anymore. It's less work, put the work on us for the donation, which is fine.
I'd be curious to see how many students don't get them.
Who don't receive them?
Which is 500 per student.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how many have difficulty getting them at this late in the game.
So the way these flow through, we also give the option of, we can either send them right to the college for the student, and in most cases, we have a lot of the colleges along, most of the in-state colleges, we already have as vendors, which seems to be smoother. We also then give the option to either, we can send it to the parents or the student directly, either way, so.
Awesome. Hearing no further questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs.
No, that should be underneath. Wait a minute.
Because 412.
412 separate,
Okay.
it's gotta be a separate vote.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Shelby?
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Ms. Lee?
Item 4.12.
And then 4.12, recommend for approval the resolution requesting Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer to make levy certification for the 7.9 mil tax levy.
May we get a motion to approve item 4.12?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments?
Just a reminder, this is the first step. Once this certification is passed, I then go to the county. They actually certify the millage for us. Then the combination of that certification of the millage along with this resolution is then what we put together to send back to our bond council, and they produce the second resolution that will go on in July. Yes. I could send somebody. but-
I was like wondering, like, is it when you look
Send
curious?
Wiley down there and
It was
we'll
just
go
like, I
mess
gotta
with
take
him.
it down.
Right.
I always take it down. It's a control thing, sorry. It gets done faster too if I'm standing there waiting for them.
All right, we do, can I get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby?
Aye. Item 5, superintendent's items.
Under certified personnel, seeking approval for the following appointments: resignations, paid leave of absences, unpaid leave of absences, and some committee member approvals.
May we get a motion to approve item 5.1?
Second.
May we get any questions or comments?
I was just wondering, I noticed that we have gift to teacher at Greenview.
Yep.
And that says district-wide, and then Dawn Ryan is at somewhere. She's in that first section, I don't know.
Last line on the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that was.
District, yeah.
Is she also,
So, Ms. Bastock, we'll invite you up, talk a little bit about the gifted shift. You can come on up.
We decided this year that it would be in our best interest to have one of our own, be the gifted supervisor, so we actually ended up shifting one of our current GISs to the gifted supervisor and then hired another gifted teacher. That gifted teacher will probably service K through 3, but you never know depending on who's needed where, so that's why. And they're just housed like both.
Yeah. And that supervisor is a union position too.
Yes.
Yep. It's not like an admin or anything like that.
Yep.
So we worked with the union and created another position.
Okay.
Yep.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee?
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby?
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Item 6.
Under classified staff, we have a lot on here. Following appointments, change of assignments, and ratification and some retirement. So seeking everything you see under 6.1.
May we get a motion to approve item 6.1?
So moved.
Second.
Ashley and Erin? Any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Ms. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby?
Aye. Item 7.
Under 7, non-rep personnel, just seeking the approval for a change of assignment.
May we get a motion to approve item 7?
So moved. Second.
Kathryn, any questions or comments?
So are we just flipping them?
Mhm.
Mr. Coleman and Mr. Harvey?
Yep.
We're just flipping, okay.
Any further questions?
No.
So we'll note that we were just talking about the funding sources of Title I, not general fund.
Oh.
My apologies, I didn't catch that.
For both?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Hearing no further questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby?
Aye.
Item 8.
Under supplemental contracts, seeking the approval for the 25-26 school year. The laundry list. And also we have our supplemental activity programs as well as unpaid volunteers.
May we get a motion to approve item 8.1?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Falkenberg and Ms. King. Any questions or comments?
Well, my comment. Just, it's nice to see so many of our former students that are still involved and making our district stronger, connected with our students.
Hearing no further questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. King,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Lee,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby.
Aye.
Item 9.
Under 9, seeking the approval from 9.1 through 9.4. We have contracts for different things listed, from Huddle, which is part of our athletics program, Life Touch, which is our picture company, private transportation agreement, as well as our district insurance.
May we get a motion to approve items 9.1 through 9.4?
So moved.
Shelby and Ms. Lee. Any questions or comments?
I had a question about Huddle.
Yep.
Have we used that before, or did we do it in-house?
No, we've been using that for as long as I've been over athletics. Huddle is what it does is it films games for our athletes and coaches, and then it's pretty neat. They have an app on their phone, and it breaks it down for them, so when they go to film, it's already ready for them.
The colleges love it,
Yeah,
especially
sharing
like
for
football.
recruiting.
It'll pull off the highlights and stuff and roll it through. I don't, do we use it for basketball?
Yeah, basketball, football, volleyball,
Everything.
all of them.
Sports use it, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
They use it for practices too, like they'll play basketball.
Mhm.
My thing is that I know Huddle, and I literally sat here for 5 minutes and I read the report Saturday, and I was like, what is it?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, duh.
May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Shelby,
Aye.
Ms. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. King.
Aye.
Item 10.
Under 10, curriculum instruction, seeking the approval for 10.1 through 10.5. We have curriculum, math, science, and social studies, and game plan 25-26.
May we get a motion to approve items 10.1 through 10.5?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Falkenberg and Ms. King. Any questions or comments?
Yes, as is always my question when we have new curriculum coming on board, were the teachers of the different subjects part of the planning and the choice of this?
Yeah, these aren't new.
These are not new?
No.
Okay.
We've had these.
Okay.
Yep.
Hearing no further questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. King,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Lee,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby.
Aye.
Item 11.
Under 11, seeking the approval for 11.1, 11.2, which is be our new service agreement, 11.3. So both of those, 11.2 and 11.3, are PSI.
May we get a motion to approve 11.1 through 11.3?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Just want to say welcome back to
I was
PSI,
just about to say, we had PSI before, so.
and we're excited to have them back, and thank you to Ms. Bussey for the leadership to get that accomplished for us.
Hearing no further comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. King.
Aye.
Item 12.
Under 12, we're seeking the approval for 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3, all dealing with our exceptional students.
May we get a motion to approve 12.1 through 12.3?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Lee, Ms. Falkenberg, any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. King,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby.
Aye.
Item 13, Board of Education. 13.1, do we have any information?
Mine isn't information, however, it is a question. I know we approved the calendar for this year as a board, and we looked at all of that. However, I didn't realize that that means for the whole week of the last week of November, including the last one,
Mhm.
to the CID. That's new for our community.
Yeah.
That's a whole week of people.
Yeah, so what what we heard from the community was with our CID days being mixed and always being on random days and Wednesdays and things like that. When we talked to, I talked to the PTAs about them during my meetings, and having that bumped up because Thanksgiving goes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that we're already off. We thought having that Monday, Tuesday would allow parents and families to just know that that week is off, and took out 2 of the CID days in the middle of random weeks. So that was the thought process behind it.
I have city council for July. I will be able to do the 7th, however, the 14th, I think it's our conflict, and I will have a conflict, and I'll be out of town that day. If anyone is able to assist with me, and you know, whatever, I can talk and share out on the 14th.
The South Euclid, you said, is on the 14th?
And I just went last night, so we just
Oh,
got our
so
report.
they just got
Yeah,
a
because I
report
missed the
last
beginning of the
night.
month, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not bad. Okay.
You might want to check, do they even have a meeting? Because sometimes they don't.
They do have a July
Do July.
15th. I talked to Jason about it. Not Jason.
Justin?
Justin, thank you. I'm like, what's the other guy? Jason was the other bald guy that used to be there. But Justin about it the other day. So, I don't know.
Anything else? No band information? Can't
Until
come up?
next month.
All right. Item 13.2, OSBA Recognition Award. Crystal, do you want to take this over since you were a navigator?
Yeah, so I got an email from OSBA about an opportunity to give a recognition award to someone within our board. And I thought Kathryn would be the perfect person. And I talked to the other ladies and they all agreed, so we have it on the agenda today. I've only been able to work with you for about a year and a half, but it's been splendid. I've learned so much from you. It's, you know, it's great to see what you're able to contribute to the board in your own way. You have something different than the rest of us. And I love that you're always willing to speak up and, you know, you just always are giving your time and your attention to this district, and it's more than appreciated.
I will say the same. Thank you, Kathryn. We have had a nice journey together. It's been some time, and I always told you in the beginning how I think it's valuable to have a teacher on the board because you do give a different thought process, not necessarily advocacy, but just consciousness, awareness, and like you help us not forget. We are advocating for the kids, but hey, without these teachers, we wouldn't have these kids. So I know next year is going to be an interesting transition for you. I wish you great health and great fun and relaxation on Tuesday evenings, twice a month. No more text messages on how can you help me. So enjoy the rest of this year and just know that you have made an impact.
That's very true. Well, you all have taught me a lot as well, and it's very much appreciated.
I've grown so much as a person. I was so thankful working with you past 2 years. And I would say I had the opportunity of meeting your daughter first when she was my son's kindergarten teacher 17 years ago. And at Adrian Elementary School, she was a phenomenal teacher. And then when she let me know that her mom was a teacher, it was like, okay, if anyone who had that much passion about education, they get it from someone else. And then working with you hand in hand, side by side, I can honestly see where she got that passion from. And you do a great job. I'm gonna cry.
I'm gonna cry too.
Because we've been through some stuff, Kathryn, and I thoroughly, when I tell you, I appreciate you so much as a teacher here in the district, looking at your page, and wow, there may be things that I question as a parent, as a community member, as a board member, when those students speak about you and the education that they receive in your classroom. That let me know that anything you have to say at this table is worth hearing and worth listening to, because you have, your heart is
appreciate you because what was it, 4 years ago when I was thinking about running, like we had that conversation in your house, and it was very helpful. And the time that we spent together, not just as neighbors but on the board, it's been a consistent pulse check of looking at the full picture and looking at all of the parties involved and really just like not forgetting anyone when making these big decisions.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Crystal, so it's the resolution, and then we vote on that, and then they send it down, and then it will be.
Yeah, for some reason, the agenda, I'm guessing somebody added a vote after they were printed.
Okay.
They forgot to add the voting lines. They're on the screen. I have added in here. So yeah, it's a motion and a second to nominate, and
Okay. May we get a motion to approve item 13.2, the OSBA recognition award for Kathryn Falkenberg?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. King, almost forgot your name.
That's
And that fast.
That's all.
And Ms. Lee. Well, we already did comments, so sorry about the vote. May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Sorry, Josh.
Mrs. King,
Aye.
Ms. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg.
It would be nice for you to vote for yourself. You make me question. If you can't vote for you, why are we voting for you?
This one isn't a conflict of interest. Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby.
Aye.
All right. Great job. Thank you, Crystal, for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
Item 13.3, new and unfinished business. None. Item 13.4, board policy and policy adoption. The following policies were presented for first read and preliminary review at the board meeting held on May 20th, 2025. There's a revision for policy number 5460, new policy 7421, revision for 7440.01, and 8452 and 8500 are all revisions. May we get a motion to approve item 13.4? So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Hill, may we get a roll call?
Ms. Falkenberg.
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby.
Aye.
Mrs. Jones.
Aye.
Mrs. King.
Aye.
Ms. Lee.
Perfect. Item 14, closing items. I don't believe we have any public comment.
None.
None. It is 6:49. We do have a brief need for executive session. I know Melissa's not here, but we will need you guys, just briefly, for, item 2. Employment purposes.
Okay.
It is 6:49. We will not take any action in executive session. We will come out, reconvene, and then close for the evening. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll be back.